Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today, we're discussing the Tudor Heritage Black Bay, or as it's sometimes called with the black bezel, the Black Bay Black. To be clear, this is reference 79230, not the short-lived late 2015 ETA-powered reference 79220. With that out of the way, you can see and you can purchase this watch on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right-hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch, with additional accessories included in the sale, high-resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this Tudor Heritage Black Bay Black. Now the watch on my wrist is easy to wear. 41mm means that it's a chunky contemporary luxury watch in profile, feel, and wrist stance, but it does have a distinctly and charmingly vintage aesthetic about it. The watch is warm, simple, and unassuming, and easy to wear in spite of the fact that it's fairly thick and contemporary in its size. So 41mm across the round of the case, not including the extended stem tube and the large crown. The watch is thick but not excessively so. 14.8mm means you can still easily wear it underneath a suit jacket sleeve, a blazer, or a sport jacket sleeve. And the watch is reasonable across the wrist as well. A contemporary 50.2mm from lug to lug. I believe you could wear this watch comfortably on a wrist as small as 14 to 14.5 centimeters in circumference, the lower end of that range if your wrist is more oval than round. Now in terms of the feel on the wrist, the watch is surprisingly hefty thanks to the solid case back and the deep case profile. It has a distinct luxury watch pull to it. It's hefty, it's solid, it inspires confidence. You feel the quality evident in the heft of the watch, and it inspires satisfaction. If you've invested in this watch, you will not be disappointed. Now, I'll also say that the watch features a common 22mm spacing about the lugs, so if you wanted to put it on an aftermarket strap as opposed to this factory aged calfskin, you could easily do so. 22mm for a watch that is, in my opinion, at its best on a strap, though it does include a vintage-inspired rivet-style bracelet in stainless steel. That is included with the watch. The strap in aged calfskin is very, very supple. It is incredibly soft. It has a suede surface on the underside, and though it's thick cut with sheer sides and it has a monotone stitch, this feels essentially like a broken-in catcher's mitt. Wonderfully buttery, supple, and comfortable. It feels like a strap that's been worn for years, although it is essentially an unworn unit. As you can see, there's very little wear and tear on this one. What you see is what you get, and what you get is immaculate. Now, the clasp itself is of a impressive construction, first because it's finished inside and out. You'll find on entry-level Rolex models, like the $5,700 Oyster Perpetual, the inside of the clasp is media blasted. Here, at a lower price point from Tudor, you actually get a polished interior clasp, and you get enough handsome refinements such as the clamshell closure and the use of ceramic wear-free indexing beads so that it always closes with a tight and snappy tolerance. This feels like a luxury piece of equipment, and even the contrast in the finish, with the satin finish about most of the buckle and the Tudor crest, and the polish across the logo portion. Again, just thought and effort went into this. There are no default designs. Contrasting finish and a stylized Tudor shield style buckle. All of this impresses, as does the finish of the case, which is simple, although there are some elements that recall the heyday of mid-century Rolex and Tudor case construction. Note the hairline bevel of the lug flanks. This is something that lapsed long ago in Rolex case construction. You also note that there's a contrast between the polish of the flanks and the vertical satin finish between the lugs, another echo of past practice at Rolex and Tudor. Of course, for those who may not be familiar with this brand, Tudor is a sister brand to Rolex, and since 1945 the two essentially flew as different segments of the luxury watch market price structure, with Tudor often serving as an introduction to Rolex ownership. Today, it's considered to be a collector path in its own right, whereby no one needs to go from Tudor to Rolex, but can continue their Tudor collecting from model to model, even encompassing vintage watches of considerable value. So Tudor is a worthwhile path in and of itself, not just a gateway to Rolex. Now the bezel, which helps to define this watch as the Black Bay Black, has a wonderful detent about it, and you'll note that it sounds as good as it feels. I can't tell you how it feels other than it's distinct without being overly stiff, and it's resistant to movement without being immovable when you want to move it. Now, it features a much more subtle grip pattern on its flank than something like a contemporary Submariner. Tudor uses a finer grip, and that coined profile is in contrast to the deeper knurling of something like a Rolex Submariner, but it helps to establish the distinct design language for Tudor. Now you can line up the luminescent pearl with the rose gold plated minute hand. Now you have a 0 to 60 minute countdown timer. You'll also note the beautiful gilt style printing of the dial. Again, golden, not gold, but handsome, and the contrast against the dial base, which is a matte black, in contrast once again to the practice of Rolex, which is a gloss black. The contrast level is high and the aesthetic is vintage without appearing compromised as many of the price point Tudors of the 50s and 60s were. And that's mostly the inspiration. The watch is actually a combination of design cues from different eras of Tudor. You have the late 60s through 70s Tudor shield style logo. You have a snowflake style set of hands, especially the hour hand, and so in that respect it echoes the reference 7016 or the late 7016s from late 1968 on, but in the absence of a crown guard and the use of the oversized crown with the vintage style bezel, it echoes earlier Tudor Submariners such as the 7922, the first model from 1954, and more than anything else, this watch is more an homage to Tudor's heritage than a reissue of any particular model. Now, it does have that wonderful snowflake style seconds hand as well, beating away at 28,800 vibrations per hour, or 8 beats per second, and it is connected to Tudor's own manufacturer caliber MT5602. You know, because it's written on the case back. What you might not know is that it has a 3-day power reserve, smooth bidirectional automatic winding, a silicone hairspring for anti-magnetism. It also has a full balance bridge and a free sprung index for toughness. Now, if you were to pull this crown out, first you thread it out, and you can see, again, many eras of Tudor referenced here. It has the rose logo on the crown and the shield logo on the dial, but screw that crown out, and you'll note how it has an extended stem tube that is black colored to match the bezel in the dial. You can pull that crown and hack the watch to synchronize it to a reference time. COSC certified Swiss chronometer and water resistant to 200 meters. This watch gives you a lot for your money. Now, stay tuned because there's going to be a loom shot at the end of this video so you get a sense of this watch by night as well as by day. Tudor Black Bay Black. So the Tudor Heritage Black Bay Black, reference 79230, you can see it's as distinctive by night as it is by day, but it's also not a simple duplication of Rolex's gentle blue chromalite color. It has a more distinctly green luminova tone that is used to help to establish Tudor's independent identity. Still a hardcore utility watch and arguably more viable in that role than any Rolex. In particular, it's the amount of luminescence used on the hands, especially that hour hand and the oversized diamond-shaped snowflake-style seconds hand, that make this watch, based on my own personal experience, a viable alternative to the Rolex Submariner and possibly even more legible by night. See and decide for yourself on our website.